I wanted to help you find the perfect early season stand location, and wanted to use this example right here, and we're going to go down and look at the perfect early season stand location, but I wanted to show you what's not first and why. And it's a blind location we can't wait to use. In fact, you can see this road behind me, fresh new cut road coming by. This accesses the land from the back side on the low side of a ridge right next to a neighbor's house. So it's neighbor's house is about 125 yards away. It's not really close, but it's close enough that mature bucks don't bed between our access typically and the house. They're right down there. In fact, when the leaves are down, you can look down at their house fairly easy when you're walking in this location of the property. But that means that if we're not walking in through deer, we're coming in the low side, all the food's up top somewhere, then we have outstanding access into this location for all day gun season sit. Our gun season is right during the rut too. And we will still use this access too to the next stand. I'm talking about the perfect early season stand location. But this blind is more set up for that early season gun hotspot, early gun season hotspot, muzzleloader all day sit, late season muzzleloader, middle of gun season when things are pushed back into these recesses here. And you can see this is perfect. We come in down this road. We have some giant trees in front of us. We sneak right over here. And when we climb up, not cut yet, but we'll have a beautiful window right here that looks down on a great little hunting plot. Now that hunting plot is near bedding area, but deer don't bed here. They sometimes bed all the way up top. They sometimes bed on the other side and around this area. We're coming in because of the house side, we're coming in on the non-bedding side. Perfect access to get into this blind for later in the year, gun season, all day sits, and you can bet we're gonna really enjoy that. I've even thought about, I was gonna ask Dylan what he thought. I always run things by him and Jen too, but I even thought about putting a potential water hole over here on the corner so that we could actually use this as a bow / gun stand. But for right now, we wanted to get this blind, this redneck, off of the plot, get it up here so it's about 50 yards down the plot. We can shoot across the whole thing. It's about a 1/4 acre plot, let's say, right around there. And I don't want to hunt here to the bow. There's really not much of a reason for deer to be moving right in front of this blind, which is why it's a great gun season spot. We can still hunt what we're watching bow hunting, but we don't have to spook the deer. Maybe we put a water hole here and we change that, but bottom line is, this is a blind I can't wait to hunt. We have a new road put in. That road's, I don't know, 600 yards long, all the way from the top, comes around, and it comes in. We can come in from the neighbor down here and hit that road and walk over. So incredible access. Before, to access down here, we had to walk all the way through the middle. What we can do now though, is we can simply drop right down here below. There's a little cut, almost looks like a little trough going down to the bottom. We'll clean that out. We'll cross the creek. See right down here, we'll cross the creek, and then we can step into what I consider the perfect early season hunting hotspot. Let's go check it out. Well, it's end of July, and I hope most of you by this point in the year have been able to check out our food plot seed company, WHS Wildlife Blends. We've had clients and customers in almost 50 states by now. And the cool thing is, you know, I don't like you to pay shipping if you don't have to. We're not going to have a giant dealer network. That's not the way we are. We built the business on experience and providing good information and quality products. People order it online. But if you live in the Southeast Minnesota, Southwest Wisconsin area, Nelson Agri Center out of Viroqua and Prairie du Chien is our only dealer in the country. I don't know if that's the way it'll be in the future, but they're very important to us because people in this region can actually travel to them, whether you're in Northeast Iowa or Northwest Illinois, and pick up that seed without shipping. So give them a call, check them out, and check out the food plot company. Check out the website if you haven't done so already. And I really appreciate you guys giving us a look for your food plot planting needs this season. Now this down here is what I consider the perfect early season setup. And there's a few reasons for that I'll discuss, but we have the redneck blind right back there. It's about 80 yards away. And so I want to be on this food source for a perfect early season hunt. And now a lot of times that means hunting in the evening. I'll discuss why you can hunt morning and evening down here, but that'll translate to wherever you hunt. You really want to be on that food source. That food source is what's going to be driving deer. This food will be coming in here. I'll talk about what we're planting here in a little bit and why that's important. that concept of those greens is so important. But I want to be able to come in here and obviously not spook deer. And so if this is a big food source, if it's the only food source, then impossible to come in the morning. And if it's the only food source, a 1/4 acre plot down here, it's gonna be really hard to get out in the evening. But we have 4.5 acres planted up there, an acre with a complementary 1/3 of an acre behind it, 2 acres up here, 2.5 acres, something like that, acre over there. So all the way up on top, about 250 feet in elevation, and a 1/4 mile in almost any direction. When you look at 180 degrees here, we have food, and then we have ag behind that. So that's where all the deer are at in the morning. If I had to come through there, which we've had to in the past, doesn't make for a very good hunt down here. We expanded this food plot. It's 5 times larger than it was. It wasn't even really a food plot before. It was just something where we had shooting lanes. We had to come right down through the middle. You had to get out. So if you came here in the afternoon, you're spooking deer. If you're getting out in the morning, you're spooking deer. We tried coming down here for all day sits. We're not sure if we spooked deer, but it just wasn't a great situation. So you had the redneck on that end, turn that into food plot, move the redneck up on that bench, perfect gun season, and that created this great bow sight through here that is just a pass-through for deer on the way to or from close proximity to bedding areas, which is outstanding. That means mature bucks. A lot of the does are bedded towards the top up here. We see a lot more mature bucks down here. This represents a nice little hidey hole food plot. Again, focusing on food in the early season. Most of the time that means evening, because if you go in there in the morning, you're spooking them out, they're already there. Even if it's a pass-through, you don't know if they're there. But our intel and the reveal cameras around here tell us that deer just aren't down here right first thing in the morning at all. It's more mid-morning, and they're just going through to bedding areas. And then a lot of times, as it gets closer to dark, I hope this makes sense, we're less likely to see deer because they're already up top to their main food sources or headed that way. So it represents a great afternoon pass-through. Deer bedded over here, they hit this, go up to a food source. They're bedded behind me, they hit this. They're bedded there, they hit this on the way up to another food source. All these different angles. So great pass-through, great food source. I believe we can get in here in the morning because we're not coming in through the fields. We can come in right along our neighbor's house down here. And what's cool is we pass by that redneck. There's a little bit of a trough, real nice spot, little valley that we can step down to. It's 60 feet in elevation change, 50, so not even much of a drop. And then we drop right down here to the creek, and we can walk right into the creek and get up in a stand location in this cluster right here. So really cool stand location right in this cluster. We can come in from the bottom, and we don't have to spook deer because we're largely walking in fairly close to a neighbor's house, 125 yards away, 150. We're blowing our scent back down there, so we need northerly winds coming out of this valley or westerly winds coming out of here, and that really helps wind channel and move down the creek this way. But especially in the evening, we found very reliable winds that push back that way. As thermals are settling, as all the wind is blocked up here, it slowly trickles down like water and pushes our scent down here slowly. This is where the deer come in. Deer come through this opening right here, and they come in that opening over here. I'm actually gonna take the chainsaw and cut down some of these logs, cut this a little bit open. You can see the majority of the entire food plot is log free. We have a little bit of constriction here. I want to minimize that with the chainsaw. I don't want to stick out too much to deer, make them feel too insecure coming through here. So very, very awesome spot down here. It's an early season spot because we're focusing on food. It's also an early season spot because we don't have to get through major food sources in here and spook it all out. We can still hunt an evening spot up around these big food sources up top. We can hunt down here if the intel tells us that's when the deer are moving. We can get in and out, low impact. We have a new road system up on the front of the property. It's right on the edge, so we can come in low. We don't have to go through any fields. And hey, when it comes to early season, it's a marathon, not a sprint. What that means is you can't afford to spook your deer herd out, your land on a small private parcel. It doesn't matter if it's several hundred acres or 20 acres. Private land is so different than public because in public you can hunt aggressively. You can go from spot to spot. You can tap into a current buck movement, current sign. If you blow it, you go to spot A, B, C, D. You have lots and lots of choices. Public land, you can scatter your efforts around thousands of acres instead of dozens of acres. Huge, huge difference. You have to minimize your impact going in on these early season sits, really focus on food. You know, a lot of spots we're focusing on food around here. We have really cool little 1/4 acre, 1/8 of an acre hunting plots. We like planting clover, something green, something that's a pass through, and then there's apple trees nearby. I love apple trees, fruit trees, next soft mass trees, next to your stand location. This would be a really ideal spot for us to plant some apple trees right behind Dylan, right over here. So that might be in the future too. But getting this food source down here that's consistent during the entire season is the #1 priority. And when it comes to food, what we're mixing down here is we'll have our brassica blend with our perennial blend. We're gonna mix those two together. That'll give us the great cool season annual of the brassica that'll actually go in about 2 days. What's cool right down here, see the soil? We haven't had a lot of rain, but we've had a little lately. We'll run over this with a spike tooth drag. It'll rough it up about this much right here, and that's it. We don't want to go down too far because there's a giant bank of weeds down here. We've already done a great job destroying the weed presence down here. We don't want to lift seeds up and get them exposed again. So we'll rough this up. We'll drop those little brassica seeds and clover seeds down here in the soil. We'll run it over with our Packer Max, and we'll be done planting. Of course, this is after we'll put some plot start down here. We actually have some 9-22-30 fertilizer that we're putting down here too. We'll add some nitrogen later for the brassica about 4 to 5 weeks after growth. But we're getting this plot planted. It'll be a lush green crop. And what's great about that is the brassica and the clover do not compete with each other. The clover gets established for next year. And we'll manage a beautiful clover field down here that we'll mow a couple times a year. We'll make it fresh, green, beautiful. The perennial blend has various clovers, chicory, alfalfa, bird's foot trefoil. And so we'll have a great lush mix here for the deer that we can manage for years to come. In the UP of Michigan, on terrible soil, I managed a clover field for 10 years. Beautiful. And you can do that by, I'd spray 1 quart per acre of glyphosate every 3 years on it. I'd also mow consistently. That kept the weeds out of here. And you can bet we'll manage this for as many years as possible. We want this just to be a pass-through. We want them to get to their dinner time holding plots up top, or they hold on our land and then go elsewhere off the property after dark. This is just simply a pass-through. That's what we're going to create. We have a beautiful mock scrape over here. We have the perfect access in and out where it's deer-free. And man, I can't wait to hunt down here. We just have to hang the stand. Dylan and I have debated about a ladder, hang on stand in this location, which trunk out of that cluster we're hanging on, but we've got it narrowed down to one of the family tradition ladder stands we're going to put down here. Can't wait to do so. And after we get this planted in a couple days, it's a waiting game. We won't be down here that much. We have the big plot up here to plant. We go right by here. We'll get that planted, and then we're going to stay out of here. We can access on this lower road to get in and out, and it's that waiting game for opening day. And if the reveal cameras are showing us the big bucks down here, we don't even have to come back in here, then you can bet this is one of our hot opening day kill plots and hunting areas, focusing on food, that we can't wait to sit here and come down to, whether it's morning or evening, sometime in mid-September.